Has the State Department of Education overstepped its authority in working with New Mexico's most troubled schools? That's the question the Bipartisan Legislative Education Study Committee is now asking. And at issue are 4 elementary schools, 3 here in Albuquerque, that have received F grades for the last 5 to 6 years. Now, Department of Education officials say they have the right to intervene in those schools' operations based on the federal Every School Succeeds Act, which was passed into law by President Obama in 2015. But the LESC says the state statute is not clear about whether or not the PED can have final say on any intervention plans, Mary. And this is very interesting because very specifically to APS, a lot of back and forth over the past couple of months or so about these 3 schools. The Education Department's taken a pretty hard line. Ms. Reedy, the new APS superintendent, is saying, look, we're working here, we're submitting things on time. Where are we now on this, on your read? Are we going to have some resolution here?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, I think where are we now? I think we have a lot of questions in the air because we're coming to the end of the Martinez administration. So the establishing the plan, following it through into to the next into 2019. The current education secretary. I mean, who knows? But at least I would expect right now may not be around. Depending on the next administration. And also, even getting down to the F grade, isn't that in question in the governor's race of who's in favor of that sort of grading system of the schools? So to me, a lot of questions.
Good point.
A lot of uncertainty.
One of the big questions, Soph, of course, is who has final say on these things? Is it PED? Is it those local schools? Is it that, there's a lot of issues out there that seemed like a block to playing well together when you really think about it.
Yeah, and it strikes me, first of all, it strikes me as something that probably really does need to be clarified by the legislature. And by the time that happens, we're going to have a new administration. So,
That's right.
So will there be an attempt to run out the clock? I suspect so. I suspect so.
Tom, the idea that, these power struggles, the kids lose at the end of the day, it seems to me, right? I mean, we have 3 failing schools, and the PED is saying, look, we can do a lot of things here, but the first one I want to talk about is replace the principal. Now, I've been around a lot of educators, and they will tell you to a person, just replacing the person at the top of it, that doesn't fix a school necessarily. So where are they coming from on this principal thing? It just seems like a no win there.
It's a scapegoat, is what it is. I mean, yes, APS has replaced all the principals. Okay, that's checking a box.
Right.
There's a larger community issue that goes beyond the principal. Now, the principal is the leader. It's a small business. It's about a $3 million budget and stuff, and so it's up to them to kind of change the tone. But to say that it's the principals, it's the teachers, perhaps should be moved. You have a lot of different other options available, but for some reason the principals is the easiest one because it's the one person that's not really even protected by a union. Not to make this a union conversation, but to add to your conversation earlier about who has the final say. I think PED, they have the hammer, and they're the ones who are going to have the final say because they are the ones in charge. Now that could change and probably will change, many months from now.
Right.
But there's so many different things about this. These issues in all these schools did not happen overnight. It wasn't like all of a sudden December is like, oh my gosh, we have an F grade, or whatever the measurement stick is. It's not working, and you just can't.
5 to 6 years is a long time.
It is.
For an F grade.
It is, and so what APS has tried isn't working. Why not give what PED is suggesting a try? Because obviously what APS has tried to do in fixing the issue hasn't worked.
How do you read this, Zach? Are you feeling in this tension between PED and APS? Are you feeling who's got the upper hand here?
So I think just to build from Tom's point here, PED does have the hammer, and speaking of check boxes, the teacher evaluation systems are completely unfair in the state, and also the way that we're testing our students and holding our teachers on testing our students is completely unfair. But the main point here is I think that the PED has to abide by federal law. We have what I believe is called the Every Student Succeeds Act. It has out clear guidelines on that. The legislature should reference this and be able to build it out to the level it needs to be interpreted to.
Interesting. Mary, I want to read off those 4 things that PED says they have in their little hammer toolbox there. They can close the school. They can restart it as a charter school. They can champion and provide choice and restructure and design, or the principal thing. There's a lot of things they're giving wiggle room here for the schools to be able to do. And Ms. Reedy is saying, look, we're choosing to do redesign and restructure and just give us some time here. We can get after this because you can't turn around something that's been failing for 5 to 6 years in a row. Is that a fair for Ms. Reedy to kind of look for a little more time here?
I think it's expected
Yeah.
that she would try to do that, especially sometimes if there are many complex reasons why a school might get an F grade beyond the classroom. And so I think when you start to look at kind of more integral problems or complex social issues that are at play, then yes, someone in her position is certainly going to want that extra time.
Right.
I mean, now we're talking years that it has been
Yeah.
dealing with some low scores, but
Yeah, well, Sophie, again, Mr. Ruskowski and company in Santa Fe, they're not going to be here, but you cannot blame them for wanting to see through what they want to do with education here. So I ask again, with the clock running out, is there time to come to a compromise here on this thing?
I think that this is cynical, but I think that given the clock, it may not be there. Maybe one or more sides thinks we don't have to. If we can keep things moving along, if we can continue to unfortunately obstruct. I mean, and I don't mean to say that I think the APD is APS. Thank you. Is wrong or is taking an incorrect tact. It seems to me though that looking at that list, some of the elements on that list. Going to a charter school, closing the school. We're talking about rearranging the deck chairs here. The only one that really strikes me as being proactive, as really involving an attempt to fix the education within that community, in that center, is the one that APS is attempting to take advantage of.
Right.
And to say it has to happen like this, I think is, and I realize that that's simplistic, but I think it is too fast. I think it is expected, but I also think, yeah, it's expected.
Right.
It should take a little time. It's not a magic wand situation.
Tommy, you mentioned, we were talking earlier, Los Padillas and Whittier is two of the schools here, those four I mentioned. Interesting little note here, I thought that was interesting, that the teachers, PED had previously required that all the Los Padillas and Whittier teachers be rated highly effective or exemplary. And they backed off of that when they realized that is not going to solve it either. And I say that to bring up, wasn't that the big thing in the education thing all along? That if teachers were designated as exemplary or better, everything was just going to turn around, but it didn't. So where does it put this idea about education reform and how they do this whole thing?
Well, it places the focus on education reform as not just about teachers, not just about principals, but it's about the community and how communities respond to helping the schools, but more importantly, the students succeed. And what I enjoy about Albuquerque is that you have all these unique communities that you just can't go in with a ready-made solution. Say, well, this worked in the reading programs at Desert Ridge worked, so therefore they're going to work at Polk, and you just can't do that. They're very different communities, and I think that there has to be some flexibility, and I think that's one of the lack of flexibility has been one of the things that PED has been criticized on. But at the same point in time, you have to have a standard that everybody's going to really get angry with, but you have to have something to measure everybody by.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm curious what you might think about this as well. The idea that evaluating teachers you need more than just test scores. We've had this argument here for a long, long time. We've got people running for governor now on both sides of the aisle, I might add, who's saying that teacher evaluations may not be the best way to go.
Right.
So I'm curious if you see this as a little crack here. Is there something changing in the dialogue about education here with this little dust-up we've got going here?
It seems like the dialogue is shifting a little bit, but I agree with what Tom was saying as well. There's cultural dynamics here that aren't being factored into PED. Each public school district is very uniquely different. I was raised in Las Cruces Public School District and the APD Public School District, two different universes. And that's why I also think the Keller administration might be interested in working closer with APD and saying like, hey, let's work with community leaders and be able to address some of the systemic issues which drive some of the school's failure. But it comes down to the model and the system.
That's
If you try to subscribe a failing model and you're wondering why nobody's able to meet it, it's kind of weird.
That's right.
But it is changing the political discourse, and it's surprising to see Steve Pearce take that position.
Are you surprised that one of the ideas is to turn it into a charter school?
Yes.
Does that help anything in this world?
In no world does that help.
Right. Mary, what do you think?
I'm not surprised only in that I think that is something that the Martinez administration advocate, like is,
Right.
is a supporter of.
Is it,
Yeah.
a lot of folks would say it's a bit of a Trojan horse, though, that they want to have these schools flipped into charter schools, and this is a way to do it. You know what I mean?
independent-
So,
We don't see better performance amongst, pardon me, about
no,
most
go
charter
for it.
schools. It's,
Yeah.
it's not the magic, but it's a charter school and now it's going to succeed.
Right.
It is asking for a different, additional set of problems.
Well, and there
That's
are
right.
independent charter schools, and then
Yes.
there are APS charter
Thank you.
schools. And it just provides more latitude to make the differences and the changes that a principal or a district wants to make.
that's right. We must apologize to APD for calling them APS and vice versa. That happens at this table sometimes. I do it all the time. It's quite all right. It's all the time we have. You did a great job. Good job, in fact. That's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us. If you want to share your reactions to this week's topics, get in touch with us here at NewMexicoInFocus.org.